So the basic throwing technique changes as we get older, but as kids we're taught to point that glove to our target and start with our hand above our ear, which is a great technique when you're 6 or 8 years old, but as the game gets faster and as it evolves, we have to change our ways a little bit just so we can get faster as athletes to get these people out. So what I like to recommend is being symmetrical. If I were to split my body in half, my front looks like my back. So as that being said, when we're throwing, we're gonna point, instead of our glove to our target, as we're taught, we're gonna point that elbow to our target. And so after we field that ground ball and come up, now I'm symmetrical. I don't ever really wanna stand this tall to throw it. I always wanna be athletic, bending the knees and staying low through it. But for this sake, we're gonna talk the upper body first. So I will be standing up. So we're gonna point that elbow to our target. This back arm now is symmetrical with my front side. As I'm getting ready to throw, I'm shifting my weight back into my back leg because that's where I'm going to get my power from. So as I shift, now I'm starting to rotate my body a little bit to get that torque or momentum towards wherever I'm throwing it to. So as I shift and turn, now my arm starts coming back, no higher than the ear, I would say. So it starts coming back here. As I come around and throw it, now my body starts to turn and doesn't look as symmetrical as it did as we started. But that's okay. We're gonna be throwing the ball, releasing it, it doesn't matter anymore. So as we're throwing it, we're gonna keep everything centered and in line. We don't wanna pull our body away. We don't wanna come super far closed. So we wanna make sure that as we're coming, everything stays in a straight line here, glove stays here, and then my arm comes over top to throw that ball. It's funny, but I like to say it and you'll remember it forever. As you're throwing it, that glove stays here and you're gonna catch your throw up. That's what I like to say. So as we're throwing it here, coming up from that position here, turning, getting some momentum and torque behind it to give myself power to actually throw it across the field, I'm gonna lean back, turn, throw it, and I'm throwing up in my glove. Everything is centered. And that's how you remember to keep everything centered is, did I catch my throw up? Also, growing up, we're taught to grip the ball. I like to say, and I'm a little biased, but I play on the Canadian Wild, so CW. The ball, when you turn it to the side, is the C. Your fingers are the W. So we're gonna put that W over the C, and that's our grip that we'd like to maintain. As you're younger, it may not fit that way. You may have all four, which is okay, but we never wanna put that ball in the palm of our hand. We always wanna have some sort of space. The second it gets palmed or stuck in that palm is when it floats. And we always want to have some space behind that, and we really want to use that wrist and get some wrist action and whip behind the ball. So to do that, we have to create space behind the ball in our hand itself. That way I can cock my wrist back, snap and throw, and get that energy behind the ball and that momentum to first base. So when I'm doing that, and as we're taught as kids, we're kind of taught to turn the ball behind, and that helps create that little torque behind and get that wrist action working. And then as you're coming through, you're able to snap it off. Sometimes when you're fielding it, it doesn't always happen that way to where you can perfectly get it behind you like that, but you always want to make sure you have that space behind the ball. The second you palm it is the second it starts floating and you have no power behind it. So the grip itself is you want to make sure that you're taking your 3 fingers and putting it on that C of the ball. So the C here, as you can tell, and the W right across those seams there. So that gives your grip the best chance of having that space between the ball here, and that way we can use our wrist to flick it across the infield. That gives you the power to actually give your ball the speed that it needs to beat the runner there. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that when we're fielding that we come back and we're already cocking our hand back to get that momentum and that wrist flick action in position. So as we're doing that, we're going to come through here and flick it off as if we're going to get that runner as fast as we can. And the only way to do that is to use your wrist and to use your body as a whole. But if you palm it and you don't have that wrist action and your wrist is locked, the chances are lower for you to get that runner than it is if you actually have the space behind the ball. As a middle infielder, I can tell you when turning double plays, it's really hard to get your body into position to throw it over the top. It's fine when you're trying to get a runner at first, but the second you have to turn and position yourself to throw somewhere where it's to your left or right and not directly in front of you is the second you need to change your arm angle. And so arm angles are super important when throwing, and you need to know where you are on the field in order to change that arm angle and do so accordingly. So if I was a shortstop and I'm turning a double play, chances are I'm using the sidearm angle. So to do that, we're going to stay really low. Throwing sidearm from here is really hard, and it's super uncomfortable, and you're most likely going to hurt yourself. So what we want to do is we're going to be in the ready position here, staying as low as we can in those legs, and then as I am throwing to second, which is to my left, directly to my left, you want to step open with that front leg. So if I try and throw here, I can get crossed up a little bit and stuck. So if I open this front leg up a little bit, now I have more room to create energy and get more power behind my throw. And with that, we still are using our wrist. We're still creating space behind the ball, but we want to make sure that elbow clears our stomach. So as I'm here, if I don't open up, I'm locked. I can't really clear that elbow. But if I open up, now I have more space for that elbow and more room for that arm to follow through and get my ball to second base or where it needs to go. And so I'll show you. To do that, we're going to stay low here, step out, and throw across, keeping everything in line and towards that target. Our hand is really what's going to get that ball to that target. If we throw our hand to our target, 9 times out of 10, you'll hit it.